guys down for a tour. Good morning, people. It's Monday. I've just lobbed the front back on the tractor to get it out of the way. I've just had a tidy up. I've just put another coat of paint on the footboards and the brackets ready for assembly. So while that's drying, I won't crack on with the mudguards. I shall crack on with the bonnet and get this sorted out, tacked up and welded. And when I'm getting close to welding, I'll bring you back, because all I have to do to this really is a bit of faffing about and a bit of cleaning up these areas that have gone rusty while they've been stood. So I'll bring you back in a minute. Tidy welding shop. Bye now. Right folks, there's our damage, and there's our little repair panel. If I fit it in. One-handed. That fits in there like that. Now I can weld through those 4 holes onto the base. I can very carefully, very gingerly weld that edge along there, and then I can just weld through here and weld through there until it becomes solid again. Right? So that's the next job then, but that's a little repair piece made for there. There we go, pleased with that. That wants some welding through as well. That one's, oh yes, that's come off there. That one's welding back on as well. That underpiece has come off, and once its spot welds are crusted away. Right, I shall crack on and get that welded in position. Okay, bring you back in a minute. Right folks, there we are. That's welded up, and that piece is welded in. I managed to get some tiny little tacks on there. I'm just going to have to get the grindstone in there now and just grind it out and see. I want a bit more there, I want another tack there, just to fill that gap in. But other than that, that's a Bobby Dazzler. Right, I'm going to put another tack on there. I'm going to grind this out and neaten it up, and then I'll show you it when it's finished. Okay, and that'll be 1/2 of the bonnet finished. Here we go folks. 245. 1/2 the bonnet finished. And smoothed off, more or less ready for some primer. So there she goes. I've done a few welds underneath. There's 2 stiffeners that go around the curve, and they'd come off, and I'd tack those back on. But the main cause of this, I think, has been the fact that the hinge is seized up, and instead of the hinge turning when somebody lifted the bonnet, it's been flexing the bonnet, and it's just broken the paint open, let the water in and rotted it. But it's fixed now. Right, time for the other half, but first I think time for a cup of tea. So that's what I'm going to do next. I'll bring you back when I've got more to show you. How many pairs of mould grips? Just gone 4 o'clock, people, and I've welded this. I've reinforced this spine with spots of weld. Now what I'm going to do next is, where it's split along the fold, I'm going to very carefully tack it back together, but I'm also going to put a strip under there that I can weld through onto, because this has all got holes where it's been pop riveted together. So I'm going to put a strip of metal behind there that I can weld onto to block the holes. And I'm also, round this side, provided there's no obstructions, and I don't think there is, I'm going to put some gussets onto there. Start there, maybe put 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe half a dozen little metal gussets, just to stop the whole plot twisting. because that's what it's been doing, and that's why it's broken. So there we go. So first of all, I need to cut a long strip of tin, or at least maybe several pieces of tin. So I'll crack on with that. But this bit's finished, and I've tried the hinge pin in, and the hinge pin goes, I've done quite a lot of straightening out on it, and the hinge pin goes straight through all the hinges, so I think we can call that bit done. So with any luck, I'll get this more or less finished today, or early tomorrow morning. Early. Ha ha ha. That looks good, doesn't it? I still haven't welded this top back on yet. And I've spotted a little piece round here that's just going to need a bit more work because there's a hole through there, so I'm going to have to grind that bit off and then weld those two holes up to give me a solid metal surface. Right, I'll bring you back if I get some more done today. Bye now. That's it, folks. 10 to 5, and I've tacked. If you can imagine that the edge of this wraps round underneath and was spot welded on and has now split off. I've pushed it back together with the mould grips. I've discovered that the holes weren't entirely in the right place at all, but I've got it back together, working. I've tack welded all the way along the edge, and it now works really nicely. Really nicely indeed. So I've got this more or less back square by hitting it. But it's looking good. It's lining up really well now, which it didn't do before. That side looks like it wants bending in a bit because the catches were very tight on this, but it was sticking up in the middle of the bonnet. So there we go. Right, well, we're past the Rubicon for any more welding now, so that's it for today. I shall finish that tomorrow, and then tomorrow, if I get round to it, which I think I will, we'll put the brackets and the foot plates together, just in red lead for now, put them back on the tractor, so we get the position of the 3 holes to bolt the mudguards onto, and then we'll start repairing the mudguards. And then we'll start repairing the mudguards, which is the last bit of tin work. We've got all the bits there ready, we've got all the bits cleaned up and sandblasted, which makes it so much easier to work on them. And then we'll finish making the new mudguards, fitting them, get all the repairs done. And then, painting. We have it all to spray. So that's probably going to take a couple of days, isn't it? Right, folks, I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye now. Good morning, people. It's Tuesday, and I've just had a quick clean off down here just to take the high lumps off these welds. Might want a bit more in places, but the next thing I'm going to do is to fill all these holes up with weld to make spot welds. That's where the prop rivet holes were. I've also discovered why the hinge was tight and the bonnet didn't fit well, and that's because if you look at these holes now, then they're slightly offset. They'd moved the bonnet that way in relation to the hinge, and so effectively made that side too short. Well, I've moved it back that bit now and it fits perfectly, so there we go. I've already tried the 2 halves together with the hinge pin in, and it works beautifully. So next thing to do is to get some strips of metal, just little pieces of metal just held behind there, in order to fill the holes up without having a tragedy. And I'd cut a piece of metal which I'd taken the paint off specially, and I've bloody well lost it, but never mind, I'll see if I can find it again. Right, I'll bring you back when I've done it. Bye now. Oh boy, look at that, folks. 3:38, because I've been on a poo run. And does she fit or does she fit? I'll tell you what, she fits a lot better than she did. But I've spotted a hole there that needs welding up. So that's to do. That one's packing up a little bit there, but that has a bracket that goes underneath it. And that fits beautifully around the tank now, and it doesn't spring up here like it used to do. It actually just pushes into the perfect position. So, that is the bonnet finished. I welded the holes up with a piece of tin underneath, and that's not a bad line at all. I mean, there's a few dents in it, but it's a tractor, you know. I shall put a bit of filler in there, smear a filler onto there, and just neaten it up, and that's it. She fits. She bloody well fits. Lovely. Right, there we are. Take that off again, without scratching the tank, and we can carry on fitting it out. What I'm going to do with this, I've got the latches here, which have already been cleaned up and painted and freed off. So what I'll probably do is put little bolts through there, or maybe even some little self-tappers, I don't know. We'll see. Because I don't really fancy making all those 3/16 rivets, which I think that's about what they are, 3/16, yeah. So there you go, and that's where the badge goes on. Diesel Major. Right, another step forward. So I shall spend the rest of today just finishing off here, and then tomorrow it's going to be mudguards, and we shall do an assemble of the footboards, put the footboards onto the tractor, get them bolted up, and then we've got a position to put our mudguards on and see if we can get a line and see how much tin is missing. And once we know how much is missing, we can make it up as we go along, like I usually do. Right, that's it folks. I'll bring you back if I get any more interesting work done today, and I'll show it to you. Bye now. Right folks, Tuesday, 4:45, and I've just been round straightening out the top of the bonnet. I've welded up that hole that was there. That's done. I've had a go at welding that one up, but I've realised I'd be better off welding that up when I put this on. So I've got a little bit more welding to do there to take those holes out. And I can just put a little piece of plate up there when I weld this on. I get that finally in position, which is about there. But as you can see, there's still a couple of holes there that need taking out. I've just been body filing round to see how it's coming, just to mark any high spots on the metal that maybe need grinding down. And to be honest, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. I am no Trev. Trev is a body expert, but I can get most of this with filler. All this will disappear with filler, and by the time it's got 2 or 3 coats of thick primer on it, you won't notice it. So there you go. Right, that's it for today folks. I'm very pleased with progress. We've got the bonnet finished. We're ready to. I've just been knocking the ends of the rivets out, because there's like a rubber strip riveted round there that lands on the tank to stop it taking the paint off the tank. And then there's another one on here that stops the bonnet rattling. On there, anti-rattle strips. I'm going to see if I can get some more of this stuff ordered tonight, because these are pretty shot, and I don't fancy paying the prices that they charge for them when they're actually sold for Fordson Majors. But there's a very good company called Car Trim Limited that stock most of this sort of stuff, so I shall be on to them tonight. Right, that's it folks. I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye now. The parting shot on Tuesday. Tomorrow the mudguards. But that looks really well, doesn't it? I've done a few tweaks and moved things about a bit, and the bonnet's beginning to fit really well now. Lovely. Right, see you all tomorrow. Bye now. Good morning folks, it's Wednesday, it's 1:15, and I thought that just before I broke for dinner I would show you what I've got done this morning. Got these back into shape, bolted them back together, put the brackets on, so we have two foot plates. So that's that done, right, and ready for, they took a bit of knocking them out actually because these had moved, with welding them and straightening them out they'd moved, so there we go, so they're ready now. I'm going to make a piece of tin like those 3 holes there, actually for both sides because this is a bit weak as well, so I shall make a new piece for there and there. That's roughly where that bracket fits, and the metal bends round the bottom of it like that one is there. So if you look at this one, these bits are both the same to all intents and purposes. Go in, go in. So that goes somewhere like that, right, and then the box sections come down and weld to it. So the first thing we're going to have to do is neaten these ends up and put some metal back in there so that all this stiffens up. Put that swage through there. We can put a swage through there and through there, right, and then we can offer the mudguard up, bolt it through the 3 holes, and we can see it roughly in the position it fits in. Luckily that piece, that has never been bent, has it? Luckily that piece fits virtually to there, like that. So you can see, well, you maybe can't see, you can see how that goes anyway. And then you can imagine that this comes down and lands on here and welds all the way around, so there you go. Right, I'm going to have a cup of tea and some lunch, and then I'm going to crack on with these. So when I've got bits made and welded in position, I'll bring you back. And I've got my weld through primer, so I can now paint those before I weld them, so that I don't get any interstitial rusting. Right, that was a big word, wasn't it? Okay, catch you later. Right folks, 4:45. I've had to go out on a job and I've got to go back out again to test an RCD which could well be faulty. But I've got these 2 plates made, and I've got these with weld through primer on. So that drops into there like that, and that one drops into there in a very similar fashion. Okay, so the next thing to do is to repair those pieces, and we can see by that one where this swage comes to an end, so we're not actually far off it. But if we just make a piece for there, continue the swage, we'll end up cutting that off and making a much bigger piece for there. But given that piece goes in there like that, and it goes about well, we don't actually know where it goes until we can assemble this. We need to get these 2 welded, assemble the mudguards onto the, or a mudguard at a time, onto the tractor, and then find out where that goes, and then mark an index line so that we know that we're lining up properly, and then we can do the rest of the welding repairs. Once we've got this shape here, we can do the rest of the welding repairs off the tractor. I'll probably swage these edges so that I'll swage them this way so that the repair doesn't show at the other side, and I'll have to knock these lines in as well, but that isn't difficult. That isn't difficult at all. Right, so that's it for today, I'm afraid. We haven't got much done today, but getting those, believe it or not, it took me a couple of hours to find enough dome-headed bolts to get all these together and to get them straightened out and fitting back on the tractor again. But doesn't matter, because it gives us those 3 holes, and that's what we need. We need to be able to index the part to exactly where it fits, or at least with a tractor close enough to where it fits. But if it was a car, you'd have to get it exactly where it fits to get your shuts and gaps in the right place. Right, okay, that was Wednesday, folks. I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye now. Right, folks, Thursday morning. Just been off on a little appointment, but I'm free now. And what I'm doing is patterning. Right, now, as you can see, there's a bit more missing from this mudguard than there is from this one. So, seeing as we've got this point here to a finish, which is original, and we know that this goes somewhere here, and we know that that point there is the same as that point there. If I place that there, we can then infer from this line here where the where it was, and then we can draw a pattern of a piece of replacement steel, and we can also use that pattern to get this point on here correct by flipping the pattern over from left hand to right hand, if you see what I mean. Last night I put the weld through primer on these, so these are ready to weld on, and once I've welded those on, I can then bolt these. That's just a reinforcing piece. I can then bolt these up to the foot panels, and I can confirm that my pattern is correct. So I'm going to crack on with this, get it drawn, and then I'll show you it swapped over from left hand to right hand on the other mudguard, and we'll see how it goes. Right, I'll crack on with that and I'll bring you back in a minute. Bye now. Folks, I've drawn this out. I've sorted these out as well. I've marked them mudguards 1 and 2, one right, one rear, one front, and 2 rear and 2 front. Right, I've put that there, which is where it goes, and I've rolled it down to get the piece I need to fold over, mark the 2 holes in it. So the next thing to do is to cut a piece of metal. But what I'm going to do first is I'm going to cut this line out round here and check it on this mudguard. Right, and then I might patch these separately and add this piece in afterwards. Although if I flip it over, I can draw the other pieces I need on the other side. That could work. Right, so basically this is what's missing off this piece, but because this has got a good curve, we can, you know, that's original metal there, comes to the original end. I've also punched some holes in there to put spot welds through, so we can weld that through to give it some extra strength. Right, next step, take this out, cut it out, on we go. Right, well that's worked quite well. We can see where we need to be. That needs pushing in there a bit like that, but we can see where we need to be. We can see where this curve meets up here, so we'll be able to now plan our repairs. So the first thing we need to do, I'm going to cut that edge square. I'm going to take that piece off because that's neither here nor there. Cut that edge square, and then we'll swage these edges so that the piece of plate goes in on the inside and fits flush, so on the side that you see we won't have a visible repair line. And then we'll make a piece for there and a piece for across there, and then we'll make that piece final last, and then we will oh, what a game this is going to be. And then we'll fit those pieces in, then we'll get that on, because there's 2 holes in there which had rivets in, which I'm going to put bolts in, and when we get that on, we can then delineate where this is going to meet up with the piece here and weld onto it. So that's what I'm going to do, but first I'm going to spray some of that. I'll clean these up and spray some of that weld through primer in them, just so that they're ready for welding on, and they can be drying whilst I'm working on it. In fact, they want spraying with weld through primer as well. We'll just crack on and we'll see. I'll do these box sections because I'm not going to be working with those yet, but I have to work with that to make those pieces, so that's what I'll do. Right, I'll crack on with this and I'll bring you back when I've done something worthwhile. See you later. Right folks, he said falling over the extension line. Joddlers. There's a hand joddler, and that's an air joddler. Now the idea of the joddler is that it creates that on the edge of the metal, right? And what you can do when you've got that on the edge of your metal is you can drop another piece onto it like that, and you can either punch holes through there and spot weld, or you can seam weld down there, or you can do both, but you end up with a basically flush repair as opposed to a repair that sticks out. Now what you do here, oh, I've cut the N4 badge off. Oh dear, that's terrible. That's tragic. But it was rotten at the back, wasn't it? Oh, I'm upset now. Right, anyway, as I said, what you can do here is you end up with a flush repair that you can sand in, and then just a smear of filler and it's gone. So obviously we're going to put that on that side so that the joddle comes through this way and we get flush repairs. I've cut some more of this out because there is no earthly point on leaving metal that's in this condition on and then trying to repair it, because you end up welding through dozens and dozens of little holes and you can't do anything with it. On the front cowl it's a different state, because the metal around all those little holes along the front was good. It was just that they'd rotted through because it was a double lap seam, which I've done away with and modified. So in that circumstance, when the rest of the metal is thick, then you can weld it up. But when it's not, best just get it off, because this, as you can see from this, there's no strength in this metal at all. It's knackered. It's rusted so thin. You can soon tell when you hit it with the tin snips because it just cuts so easily. So what we're going to do is we're going to joddle it like that on this edge, and then we're going to make a repair piece to fit in there to match with our pattern, which actually delineates where the edges go, like so. So that goes there, that fits in there like that. And there's our pattern. So what we really want is a piece of metal that shape. I'm going to have to put another piece on there, but never mind. I won't put another piece, and I'll cut it as part of the original patch, but I'll just tape a piece of cardboard on and make the pattern. Right, that is it. Oh dear, poor little N4, never mind. Right, I'll crack on. Be back later. Right folks, here's our pattern. Now you'll see that I've sketched round the outside of the pattern, except that bit where there's a bit of cardboard missing, but we'll magic that. I've sketched round the outside of the pattern, leaving a lip just big enough to drop into the swage, or the joddle if you like. So the next thing to do is to cut that out and cut a piece of tin to suit. Right, I need to leave a little piece there to wrap around as well. But that's the next process, is to cut a piece that shape and then joddle it and fit it in, which will involve a little bit of cutting and fine tuning, but no matter, it will be a good job when it's finished. Right, let's crack on. There we go folks, there's our pattern, which is a little bit adding at the top there, but other than that, that should fit. Famous last words. Cardboard design rules. Right, onward. Right folks, there's our joddling done. Now I use the air one, obviously. Nothing wrong with the manual one, but you need strong wrists and persistence. I may use the manual one to neaten up bits of this, because the air one's a bit difficult to control. Once it starts going, it goes for it. But there we are. That's fitted, and it stiffens the edges of the metal up. And when you get a weld on there, you find that what you've put back in is a huge amount of strength. Of course, I do have to put those two swages across it, so they're going to have to be stretched in rather than to take up too much metal, but we can do that. So next thing to do is to cut out the piece of metal. I shall bring you back when I've done that. Right folks, here we are working on a fit. There's our piece of metal. And the next job I'm going to do is put those two swages in, there and there, before I take that down anymore. So I'm going to do that and I'll bring you back again. As you can see, we've moved our place of operation, so I'm not working on my knees anymore. At my age, it's a bad thing to do. Bye now. Here we go folks. Just gone 3 o'clock. We've got a fit, and I think we're ready to bend that up, drill some holes in it, and tack it in position and see if the wing fits. Yes, probably the thing to do is to weld that piece on, fold this, bolt that on, and then see if this piece fits. Yes, that's what we'll do. Right, okay, but as you can see, it drops into the swaging nicely, and that'll weld round very neatly, and the welds will disappear into the little gap. Apart from there, which I can't swage it because this edge here is a wired edge. It's got a piece of quarter round bar in it just to stiffen the wing up. So I can't swage that. Right, onward. That's that bit welded on. Strong as strong. So next job to do is fold this piece for the underneath. Fold it this way, that way, so that I know which way to fold it and don't fold it the wrong way. And then we'll assemble this onto the tractor and we'll see if that piece fits in the gap. If it does, we'll mould grip it and we'll weld it. Right, bring you back later. And there she is folks, just tacked in place for now, and we're going to have a fit up and see if it fits. I have a feeling we might have to alter the bend a bit, but that will panel beat into position, and I have another piece, just a little extension just to put on one end, but that's gone in really well. A lot more messing about to cut it all in one piece, but at the end of the day it's a lot stronger and a lot neater. So there we go. Right, time to put it on and see if it fits. And does she fit? Like a glove she does. Beautiful. I need to cut that, I need to trim that end down there, and I need to add a piece onto there, but that's neither in or there. That's just a little piece that needs adding. So the next thing I probably need to do is to, that doesn't actually, it might have a gap there when it's in the right plane, but at the moment I won't set it right to there. This is where you need one to look at, isn't it? Because that's just going to pick the mud up, isn't it? But it's very close to it's very close to the footboard, so it must have been like that. So we'll leave that where it is. We'll leave that where it is. Right, I'll mark that and we'll cut it off. Very pleased with that. That's a good fit. Right, well, it's past the Rubicon for any more welding. It's 4:45, so I guess that's it for Thursday. So I'll see you all tomorrow, and with any luck I'll get cracked on with that one, or at least I'll finish welding this one. But that is a good fit, I'm pleased with that. Right, see you later folks, bye now. Final Thursday night shot folks, and that's all over by the shouting. So what we've got next is one rear, one front. We have to now fit that back onto there and bring that box down, growing slightly larger as it goes, so it fits onto there and welds onto there. Like that. Then the mudguards will be stiff again, and with any luck fixed. Right, see you all tomorrow for Friday's fun and games. Bye now. Good morning people, or should I say good afternoon, late start today. I've just been cleaning these holes out with a piece of split round bar with some emery tape wrapped round it, which has cleared all the rust out, which means the bolts fit properly, which they didn't before. This is what I use, look. It's just an old stud with a slot cut in it with a hacksaw, and just stick a piece of emery tape in it and it spins it round beautifully, cleans all the rust out. So now they have a perfect fit. That one went through sort of, that one wouldn't go through at all, but now it's fabulous. So we've got the holes drilled for the mudguard this morning, and now I'm going to offer it up again and mark the two holes in the back of the angle iron. Mark those two holes there so we can get those drilled ready for some nuts and bolts. So it's coming along, but I'm not going to get to that one today. There's still quite a lot to do on that one. I haven't fully welded it yet, I've just tacked it. I'm pleased it fits, and I'm going to continue with it, and I'll probably repair this mudguard fully and then start the other one next week. But you can see the idea, the other one will be no different. I'll show it, I'll video it, but I won't do as much of it as I've done of this one. But that's coming on rather nicely. Right, bring you back when there's something more to show you. Right folks, 2 o'clock Friday, and it's beginning to come together. But I'm going to, before I continue, I'm not going to continue with this side. What I'm going to do is make some patches, make some pieces of metal, and then I shall paint this with the weld through primer, which works, and because I've already welded through it there. And to be honest, it's perfect. As soon as the wire touches the paint, it arcs straight through it, because it's got the conductive, I think this one's got conductive aluminium in it, and it arcs straight through it and welds perfectly. So we can see now where those go. There's various little telltales where they line up, and you can see we've got a nice line going down to the edge of there, which is where it welds onto. So we have to make some box section. So what I can do is make some of that box section to fit. I can make a piece for there, and then before I finish tonight I shall do the whole lot with a nice coat of weld through primer, and it'll be all ready for welding on Monday. So that's what I'm going to do folks. Right, I shall crack on and make some bits of box section. See how well I can cock that up. I won't cock it up because I've done it before. That just needs some of the rust taking off there. It's got a few deep pits in it that I haven't quite cleaned out at the bottom, so I can take that off. I'll probably make a patch over there, and then I'll just that hole has been where the cab is fixed on, so I shall just put a piece over there and weld that up, because that's no longer necessary. I have to be a bit careful. It's not this wing, it's the other wing, but the other wing has some some little holes just along the edge there which will weld up again. That's not a problem, but you can see where those boxes go now and come straight down onto there and weld onto here. Like that, a box round there, welds on there. It gets bigger as it goes down as well. Right, off we go. It's tin work. I'm going to put some gloves on this time so I don't cut my hands to ribbons. When you're doing sheet metal work, always wear gloves because it's bloody nasty stuff. Right, onward. I think I've said this before, folks, but I'll say it again. These packets from a certain well-known internet company make the ideal cardboard for cardboard aided design because they are thin but strong and they're not corrugated, so they'll fold anywhere. Corrugated cardboard, not much use because it tends to always fold along the corrugations, but this stuff will fold anywhere. Right, I'm going to now try and make some patterns for those box sections and see how I do. Bye now. There we are, folks, a piece of cardboard box section. So I've got a pattern now. Now what I've had to do is measure a length, and as it was I've used 6 inches because I was using this little 6-inch rule. So in 6 inches it increases in depth by 1/4 of an inch, and it's also the same on the width. Every 6 inches it increases in width by 1/4 of an inch, so 1/2 an inch in a foot if you like. So you measure that side and then you measure the length and you measure the taper, and here presto it fits. So what I've got to do next is cut that piece out there, which is where it welds to the top of the angle, and then that piece there goes down longer and welds to the bottom of the angle. So I shall continue and see if I can get it sorted. Right, bye now. I can afford to fit this because it's got quite a lot of overlap here, so I can afford to drop down a bit. But basically that's the shape I want, and it looks like I can use this pattern on that side as well, because it looks like that they are, just a minute, that's the rear. It looks like it's pretty, yes, I can use that pattern, which is the front, on the rear of the other one, and it matches up to this angle. So we may only have to make 2 patterns, but that's a different size, isn't it? Let's see. I'm going to make a pattern for this now, and we'll see if we can get that to fit. But now I can just lay that on a piece of sheet steel, mark it out, cut it out, and I know it'll fit. Right? Ha ha ha. So next I'm going to cut one for here, and get that fitting, and then we'll see about cutting some steel. Although I might just, I mean, it's just gone 3:30 now, I might just carry on and cut patterns and call that it for this week, because I am a little tired and emotional at the moment. The stress and strains of daily life are getting to me. I need to have a nice relaxing weekend. Right, onward, get this bloody pattern cut. Bye now. Right, there we are. That's going to make next week a whole lot easier. That piece needs welding on, but first it needs making in steel. But that fits. As you can see, all the complex angles are in there, and it'll just, once I've got it roughed out, I'll be able to tweak it, fit it, tack it, and then take it off and weld it. I can bring the welder through here and put it on the extension lead, on the big 3-phase extension, and just get it tacked up in position, and then we can weld the whole plot together, and that will stop it going like this, which is what it's doing at the moment. Right folks, it's just gone 4 o'clock, and I think I've had enough for today, so we'll call that it for Friday. So thanks all for watching. Thanks to the 2 or 3 new subscribers we've had this week. Welcome aboard, chaps, which is what I always say, and I hope you enjoy what we're doing. I hope you're rebuilding a Fordson Major of your own and getting some good clues from this, or I hope you're just watching it and enjoying it. So thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing. If you haven't subscribed, please do, and I'll see you all next week. Bye now.